Alright, here we are. As you can see, this is definitely not how we normally do this sort of thing. I'm normally sitting at my desk with a webcam and you can see my cluttered apartment behind me, but as you can see, that is not the case now. We have upgraded the apparatus, as it were. So, as you can see, or actually you can't see, there's a screen behind me that's going to allow me to actually do this from anywhere. So right now, I think I'm actually going to be in Delaware. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Actually, I think we're going to change it up and send it over to Metropolis now, and we're going to stick with that. Alright, we're back. Not really back, we didn't really go anywhere. And we're going to talk about 4 things today. Today was a mildly light week in the grand scheme of things, in as much as I tried something that I wouldn't normally try, because it was such a light week. But the things we're going to talk about, one is, first up is Wonder Woman 603, the next part of J. Michael Straczynski's Wonder Woman run. Also, we're going to be talking about, this is the one that I kind of picked up differently, is Artifacts from Top Cow. This is by Ron Marz, who some of you may remember from having a big Green Lantern run. This is a big crossover that the Top Cow universe is doing that was surprisingly good, so I'm going to be talking about that. Next up is Avengers Prime, which is by Brian Michael Bendis. This is the next part of his kind of miniseries chronicling the rekindling of the friendship between the 3 Avengers after hating each other for so long. And we're going to finish it off with one of my favorite books right now, Paul Cornell's Lex Luthor Action Comics. Alright, first we're going to talk about, as I said, Wonder Woman 603 by J. Michael Straczynski. Now, this is the 3rd part of his big Wonder Woman reimagining, the one that's garnered so much, we'll call it press. Some of it good, some of it bad. The big thing here is that Wonder Woman has a new costume, and that's the one that's caused much dissension among people. Mostly because she has pants now. I guess that's the only thing I can really think of that's making people mad. I guess. Anyway, this is the 3rd part of his Wonder Woman arc, titled Attack of the Keris. And this features a kind of, almost frighteningly so, 3 different pencilers on the issue, which is a little strange considering this is only the 3rd issue. You think they would have done a little bit more to get that set up. We've got Jim Straczynski's writing it, and then Don Kramer, who is the announced artist, is doing work, as well as Eduardo Pensica, as well as Alan Goldman on this issue. So 3 different artists, and despite the fact that it's 3 different artists, they still managed to pull it together in such a way that it's not really jarring. It's not like you're going from a Jim Lee to somebody like a Mark Bagley. It's not a horrible, horrible transition there. So it works pretty well for the most part, and anyway, the story itself, Wonder Woman has just rescued a bunch of, I guess, your backstories. This whole reimagining is the reason she's in this different universe is because someone at some point in her past changed something that diverged the whole timeline, creating this alternate 90s era costumed Wonder Woman. So she's come forth trying to find all these Amazons, trying to figure out exactly what happened here, and at the end of the last issue, she had saved several of these Amazons and was trying to save them. And we pick up right after that in this issue, and she continues on trying to save these people until she dies. Yeah, straight up. She's fighting a bunch of, in the Greek mythology, when you die, somebody comes to take your soul, and she can see these things for some reason, and they take hers too. So she gets to go down to hell. And the problem is that Hades has been missing from hell for a while now, so things are utter chaos down there. So she basically has to fight her way out. Whether she does or not, I'm going to leave up to you to figure out. But the issue itself works pretty well. I've really been enjoying this. This has actually made me really kind of care about Wonder Woman for the first time in a while. No offense to Gail Simone, who wrote it before, but I really just wasn't digging it. J. Michael Straczynski is one of my favorite writers, even back when he did Babylon 5, when he did The Real Ghostbusters. He even wrote episodes of Murder, She Wrote. I guess everybody gets their start somewhere. And he's been doing a good job with this, making the character fresh and new and kind of, this is something that I can get behind. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of mystery too. We get basically a new villain shows up at the end that we've never seen before, and things look like they're going to get heavy pretty quick. So I would definitely suggest you check out Wonder Woman 603. Next thing we're going to talk about, this is the kind of thing that I mentioned that I wouldn't normally pick up. I just actually, on Comic Book Resources, I'll give them a shameless plug right now. They had an interview with Ron Marz and Marc Silvestri, who are kind of right now, Marc Silvestri's the founder of Top Cow, who's the company that published this, and Ron Marz is kind of, he used to be a big guy at DC. You probably remember him for his stuff on Silver Surfer, Post-Infinity Gauntlet, or you may not remember him for that, but he's mostly known for Green Lantern. killing off Hal Jordan and introducing Kyle Rayner, which most of us remember for some point, whether we hated it or we liked it. I kind of fall in the middle, but that's a different story for another time. But anyway, this is Artifacts, which is the first part of a 13-issue series that is kind of Top Cow's big kind of universe-ending idea of an epic crossover. I mean, your big two, Marvel and DC, have their epic crossovers all the time. This is the first issue of theirs. Now, this has been out for a while. I've seen things that said this came out in July, if that's the case. I'm just now getting to it because I saw an interview with the two guys, Marc Silvestri and Ron Marz, about it a couple of days ago, and I figured I'd give it a shot. And I was actually quite surprised by how good it was. I guess I really shouldn't be, because Ron Marz is a very capable writer, but this was actually quite good. I have never read a Top Cow book before in my life, ever. I have never read an issue of Witchblade. I have never read an issue of The Darkness. I've never read an issue of any of this stuff. And I was still able to kind of jump into this without much of a problem, basically with the base knowledge that you have of the characters. Because there's a lot of setup in this issue, so there's not really a lot relying on you having too much knowledge of these characters before. I'd read a little bit of Witchblade and Image United, which Marc Silvestri draws, but Image United is kind of its own separate thing. But this was really, really good. Ron Marz is basically crafting this whole story. He's doing the first 4 issues with Michael Broussard, who was the artist on this one, and he's got a very, very dynamic style that I like. He kind of channels Leinil Yu and his own influences into this really kind of cool style that really kind of gets across the grit that this series really implies. And Ron Marz, in this issue, we don't see too many different characters. We see Witchblade, we see assumedly characters that are going to play a bigger part later, and the focus mostly on this issue is Witchblade. And the idea of artifacts, which has already been stated, is that in the Top Cow universe, there are 13 kind of supernatural artifacts. The Witchblade is one, the Darkness is another one. There's a whole list of these things. And the idea is there's 13 of them, and if they all come together, it brings about the end of the world. Which you knew somebody was going to do eventually, so here it is. Artifacts number 1 of 13, and there's 13 artifacts. Coincidence? Probably not. But, like I said, Michael Broussard is on this one for 4 issues, and then follows that. Will Spatarcio is another Image founder, is going to come on after that. And Marc Silvestri himself actually does a 2-page backup for Witchblade in this. So this is a really good setup issue. We kind of get a good feel for what's going on here without it being too wordy. A lot of mystery is dropped, a lot of intrigue is dropped. There's death, there's destruction, there's everything you could really want out of an event superhero comic. And it's really good. It's really good. I was surprised Ron Marz is still doing good work, even though he's not working for Marvel or DC. So if I were you, I'd check this out. Issue 2 just came out, and issue 3 should be coming out soon.